Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. The Uncanny X-Men 178 from 1983. We've got Storm, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler's girlfriend Amanda Sefton here on the cover, taking on the Brotherhood of Mutants. I don't like calling them the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants because I don't think they consider themselves evil. Um, Evil just kind of depends. They look at them more as liberators. Cover here by John Romita Jr. with Dan Green. Rest in peace, Dan Green. I believe Dan Green will be the inker. Pretty much. Not saying he won't miss issues because there are issues that he does miss, but I think he will be the consistent uh, inker going all the way even into Mark Silvestri's run here. So this is the classic X-Men cover by Joe Madureira and Bob Wyacek actually inking this cover as well here. So we pick up where we left off. I have several playlists if you would like to check them out. I have an X-Men playlist that just covers X-Men and X-Men only. I have a New Mutants playlist that covers New Mutants and New Mutants only. But I have a X-Universe playlist that puts everything in reading order. So X-Men, New Mutants, the Wolverine Limited series, the Marvel fanfares, a couple of Marvel team-ups that went with that. The Avengers Annual 10, first appearance of Rogue, is in there too. So a lot of stuff in that X universe. And I post everything, as I mentioned, in reading order. So here we go. So if you remember from the previous issue here, we have a Colossus who was superheated, but then they used what was it? It's that super cooled gas. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my god, liquid nitrogen. And so now he is in this state here. And of course, we've got Kitty, who's in a relationship with him. The title, Hell Hath No Fury. Um, so X-Men here. A Stanley presentation starring the Uncanny X-Men. Chris Claremont is the writer. John Romita will be the regular penciler all the way until the Mutant Massacre saga. Bob Wyacek is still doing the inks, but eventually Dan Green will take over with Brett Breeding. And Glynis Ween, Tom Marzakowski, Louis Simonson, and Jim Shooter here. So, and Kitty's all broken up here. Peter, oh Peter, no, I won't cry now. Only when I know there's no hope. Till then, I've got to do everything I can to save him and war the others. And she telepathically reaches out to Professor Xavier. And so here we are at the mansion here, and over by the fireplace, Professor Xavier is reading some stuff. And here's Rogue, and she's got headsets. They're sitting together. Of course, he is reading a letter from Cyclops and Madeline Pryor, who are on a honeymoon. Who took this picture? And he thinks here, Scott and Madeline do seem to be enjoying their honeymoon. I envy them, their happiness, but they've more than earned it. And so, he continues here. He writes of joining Madeline as a pilot for his grandparents' airline in Alaska, and then he goes, and then he gets Kitty's message. I sense your distress, child. What's the matter? He says, or thinks, or whatever. And Kitty says, by the way, I love this panel. I love This is cool. This is great storytelling here in this panel here. How they have the minds linked here. We've been ambushed, sir. I think by the Brotherhood of Mutants. Again, I'm not going to call them evil mutants. Everyone referred to them as evil. Colossus has been terribly hurt. They didn't bother with me, but Nightcrawler at but Nightcrawlers at the Lincoln Center. They're probably going after him. And Professor X, stay where you are. I'll alert Nightcrawler and send Storm and Wolverine to your aid. And then he thinks, I mustn't let Rogue see anything is amiss. She used to belong to the Brotherhood. Indeed, she considers their leader Mystique her mother. And there she is, still listening to her headsets here. And so, in the danger room, we've got Storm and Wolverine here. And she's still wearing her cape here for this, but I know that eventually she just has the suit here. So, and she flies in front of Wolverine. Look at that, snicked and gets her. And Rogue says, "Very nice. You slashed my cape from my body without touching me." And Wolverine's like, "Piece of cake. Oh, really? Next time I'll fly faster." So, lady, you could get hurt that way. And of course, she says, the risk is what makes it fun. And so part of this is how Storm is her change, particularly with Yukio, which Wolverine does mention here. That's Yukio's line, usually when she's playing chicken with a 200-mile-an-hour bullet train. And Storm says, one could have worse role models, Logan. And Professor X telepathically says, X-Men, we have an emergency. And Storm says, Professor, have you alerted Rogue? I believe, Storm, she is best left out of this, he says. I love this. He carries Wolverine. He's just like, oh, that is awesome. So, um, and so Professor X continues here. A battle with those who were until recently her teammates and friends might put her loyalties to an undurable test. And Storm says, I concur. And so Professor X says, I'm receiving no thought patterns from Colossus, but that doesn't necessarily mean the worst. He may simply be in deep shock. And so he continues down here. If he's alive, though, however, we will revive. And suddenly he screams out here. You see this, arg. A bolt of psionic force smashing through my natural defenses like they don't exist. This will be played out. This is the Beyonder. This is because soon the X-Men are going to go into the Secret Wars. I have started the Secret Wars. I just completed issue number 6, I believe. And so I do have a playlist with them with the Secret Wars. Eventually, I will be putting the Secret Wars into the X universe. So Rogue goes, Professor, you cried out. And Professor X says, a sudden headache, Rogue, that is all. And she goes, do you want some aspirin? And Professor X says, that would be wonderful. Thank you. And Professor X says, that wasn't an attack. Good thing, too. It could have destroyed me with ease. It felt more like a scanning wave. But where did it come from? What is it looking for? We will find out. Like I said, that this is related to the Secret Wars. The Marvel superheroes Secret Wars, I should say. So Kitty's thinking here, my phasing power won't be much use against the Brotherhood. If I join the fight, the other X-Men will be too busy looking out for me to look out for themselves. But I can't just stay here and do nothing, no matter what I'm told, she says. And then Kitty stops here and thinks here about a article that was written by Reed Richards, and she says about a portable high-intensity heat source he designed to thaw organic matter without causing any harm. That could be precisely what Colossus needs. But all those cracks in his skins, if he reverts to his human, and they translate into cuts, no one could survive such terrible wounds, she says. And of course, she goes, one problem at a time, kiddo. And so she's going into a payphone here, and she's gonna call the Fantastic Four here. And I love their assistant here, who is always she's just half. She's designed by Reed Richards, and as always, every time somebody needs the Fantastic Four and calls, they're never in residence. Of course, during this time, they are. I believe it's the trial of Galactus happening during this time. So, um, and so Kitty runs toward that taxi cab, and she's gonna try to take that machine and see if she can figure it out herself. So, and she goes through and she's like, Baxter Building, please. And this guy's like, they're never gonna believe this, back in the garage too. So, all right. Um, we're now in another area, and there's a body here, and the Morlocks see her, and this Sunder here says a dog shouldn't end up like this, much less a kid. And of course, Callisto's like, if the world were fair, Sunder, we wouldn't be Morlocks. And then this would be Mask here. Um, and she kind of laughs. This could be Utopia, Callisto, the perfect society. We'd still be rebels. We like it, she says. And of course, Callisto says, too true, Mask. We're outcasts as much because we want to be. And so, um, so they're going to use this body. You can see here, can you work with this material, Mask? They're going to use this body here. And you can see Mask here saying, when I'm done, Pretty Kitty's own parents won't be able to tell them apart. So they're going to use this body to make it look like Kitty Pryde. So we'll see why in a few. But I just want to point out, this is in the early, and look at that, a nose ring, it looks like. You just didn't see that much. I know nowadays we see it all the time, but here in the Lincoln Center, Nightcrawler and his girlfriend are making out here, and so they realize it is a late evening, or very late, and so they wonder what's been taking the team so long. Suddenly they look up and are very surprised here, and they're like, a dragon made out of fire. And so he teleports them here, and when they get there, Avalanche is awaiting for them here. So we're gonna see here as they're gonna go against the Brotherhood here, and you can see Amanda's knocked out, and Nightcrawler teleports to get it, and so he is going to telepathically call, and you can see here that he goes, Nightcrawler alert, you're in imminent danger of attack. And he's like, I wish you'd just said that warning a minute or two later, or earlier. So here comes, this is Pyro, by the way, controlling this dragon creature here. And Amanda uses her power, but and look at this. I'm impressed, says Nightcrawler. Me too, says the Blob as he lands in there. So, and look at it. He grabs Amanda by the neck, and he's like, the skunk teleported before I could grab him. Too bad his girlfriend wasn't so lucky. And Blob says, hey, Nightcrawler, you pop your fuzzy blue carcass back here on the double, or I snap your skirt's pretty little neck. So, and so Nightcrawler does, and he says, you promised to let her go. And he grabs and he goes, I lied. So suddenly from behind, he is hit by a bolt of lightning, and here is a storm. And Wolverine says, drop me anywhere, darling, and then stay out of my road. That fat slob's mine. And Storm says, I will place you where you do the most good, Wolverine. And at the moment, I think best. Um, let's see here. Um, oh, sorry. And at the moment, I think best. I'm sorry. I was looking to see if it was continuing. I read it wrong. So here, Blob says, Destiny, you're supposed to know these things, woman. How come you didn't warn us they were coming? So our voluminous colleague has a point, Destiny. Um, and voluminous Destiny. And Destiny says, not all timelines are clear and certain to me, Pyro. Sometimes it is better to be silent than wrong. And so, um, she thinks your Nightcrawler is safe for the present. I do not think Mystique will fault me for that. And so you can see the Blob here throwing. So he's actually super strong too. You remember which side you're on, old lady, and act accordingly, he says. So he throws that thing to Storm, and then she uses a gust of wind to head it back and hit him here. And so they get to the Baxter building. Kitty leaves him some money, and off she goes. So she's gonna sneak in. You can see the changing inker. This would be Brett Breeding, and if you're familiar with his work, he uses a very thick line, very, very. If you Google his images and stuff, and see all his other work, he works very thick. So um, she goes through. There's a receptionist here, but she goes through her, which of course causes her to fizzle out for some reason. When she phases, she electronics kind of go. So she's gonna go through the Baxter building to see if she can find that thing. Finally, the robot lady um, feels better and goes, "Oh my goodness." Physical contact with intruder resulted in temporary dysfunction, including loss of intermediate short-term memory. Uh, Initiating stage 1 security alert here. So off she goes to deal with Kitty. And here comes Wolverine. This is a beautiful, beautiful image here. Storm and everybody here, and look, Destiny sort of in the background. This is done in color holes. This is just beautiful. um and what impresses me is the time that this was done. Nowadays with computers, but this was still in 1983. Think about how long ago that was. Yes, I am older than that. I was 9 years old when this stuff came. So all right, and so you can see Nightcrawler teleporting here and hitting Avalanche here. And here is the Blob. You got a midget brain to go with that pint-sized body, runt. Even the Hulk can't flatten me. What makes you think you can do better? As he kind of hits him with that belly here. How about I fall on you, Shorty? We'll see how good those fancy bones of yours are. And so Storm here, she's thinking, Pyro is resorting to a direct assault. He is trying to burn me out of the sky with that beam of fire. I cannot shatter it with my hands as I would with the flame blast. I shall have to drown it instead with a monsoon. So she's using all her powers here, and he's like, crikey, I never imagined the Weather Witch would pull a stunt like this. It's raining so hard I can hardly stand. She's setting off lightning to dazzle us and thunder right about our heads, making it impossible to concentrate. I'm not even sure I can even maintain my flame, much less do anything. So, meanwhile, Kitty is still looking for that, and she thinks she found it here. So she grabs it and phases out of the building, and now she's gotta get all the way down here. So she goes, if my concentration is broken while I'm phasing, I'll fall. So she can't stay there. So she hears the noise from the security from that, and she falls because she lost her concentration here. So, and then now we got Avalanche here. And he's like, rain or shine, it's material to me. Even if my ground slide misses you, Nightcrawler, I'll still bury your partner and your girl. And Nightcrawler shows up. He goes, right idea, Avalanche. Wrong target. And he, of course, uses him against the Blob. And here comes Wolverine. Hey, Tubbo, what uses being an immovable object if the ground turns to quicksand beneath your feet? And look at him. Want to call it quit? Either way is fine with me. As he, look at that. This is absolutely awesome. John Romita Jr. Okay, so I I don't mind John Romita Jr. He's very serviceable. I just really liked Paul Smith, and I just wonder because I just think Paul Smith has a more pretty work. So when I just think Paul Smith would have been better if he would have stayed all the way through. But John Romita Jr. is quite serviceable, and John Romita Jr. He is currently one of Marvel's top artists. He's still an amazing Spider-Man. Does Spider-Man so much, um, but you know, um, so here the Blob goes, "Hey, I give up," and so the Brotherhood has been uh, taken here, and they're like, "This was too easy," almost as the Brotherhood did not care about the outcome. And of course, the Blob laughs. Dummy, the girl didn't matter. And her Ruski smooch was icing on the cake. Ain't you clowns twig things yet? We were never after your hides. This was a diversion. And so, of course, Mystique is heading toward the X Mansion. So, if you remember from last issue, she wanted Rogue. And so Professor Xavier here is saying the interface is stronger than ever. That mind scan is still going on. Chris Claremont's really milking it for this. So Rogue's coming with the aspirin, and he feels something. He's like, turns out you see here in the gun, and she shoots and hitting Xavier. Now, this looks like Rogue did it, like she turned sides. Of course, we know it is not, as it is Mystique. And she has come back for Rogue. And so Rogue says, "Is he dead?" And Mystique says, "Not yet. Go pack your things while I finish my business here." And Rogue says, "I don't get this. Why are you doing this?" And Mystique says, "For you, of course. Did you think I was going to let Xavier steal my daughter and get away with it?" She says. And Rogue says, "He didn't kidnap me. Whatever gave you that idea? I thought you understood, Mystique. I came of my own free will." And Mystique says, "How would you know, Rogue? With his accursed mental powers, Xavier could make you believe or do anything." And Xavier says, "I won't let you kill him. It's wrong." "You're wrong," she says. So, and Mystique is like, "Stand aside, girl." And Rogue is not going to obviously stand aside here and says, "Why won't you ever listen to me? Am I so little in your eyes that rather than see me take responsibility for my own life, make my own decisions for myself, and accept consequences, you'd sooner believe I was brainwashed, forced to do it by someone else?" And Mystique says, "Why did you leave me then? Rogue, don't you love me?" And she says, "Of course I do, Mystique. You're the mother I never had. And this has nothing to do with love. Can you help me? My powers are out of control. I can't touch you. I can't touch anyone else because the slightest physical contact transfers that person's memories and abilities to me. I can't handle it anymore, Mama. It's driving me crazy. Mystique, I spent months trying to kill Dazzler. I hated her because she was a mutant with all the things I could never have. She had lovers, she had friends. Xavier's my last resort. If you truly love me, if you want what's best for me, you'll respect my decision and let me stay." So, poor Xavier here. And when it's over, when you have to choose Sorry, let me reread that. And when it's over, when you have to choose between X-Men and the Brotherhood, him and me, what then? And Rogue says, at least I'll have a choice, more than I got now. When I was a kid, for I developed my power, and I remember you holding me, protecting me from the badness and nightmares. You can't do that anymore. You don't dare. I want to be normal, Mystique. If nothing else, I want a chance. Is that too much to ask? So, and so, Mystique here. X-Men, I have a simple proposition. My colleague's freedom. And so, everyone, of course, can see her here for your mentor's life. Um, and of course, Nightcrawler goes, how do we know he isn't dead already? And Storm's like, we don't have a choice. So they agree. And Blob goes, nice. You bozos won't stop us, and these cops can't. They ain't got the firepower. So caught red-handed, we walk away. I gotta hand it to Mystique. She looks after her own, and the night wasn't a total bust. We still nailed Colossus. So, and Amanda's like, that slime ball wouldn't be gloating if Mother had taught me some of her spells. And so, uh, Nightcrawler's like, well, I'm glad she didn't. And Wolverine, of course, says, a word to the wise, Blob. Get used to looking over your shoulder. Sooner or later, I'll be there. And don't expect to see much after that, he says. So, and here comes Destiny and says, X-Men assess a chronal interface between Kitty Pryde and the Baxter ability. Timelines intersect, but do not proceed. Ignore me at your peril, mutants. In my mind, I see the ultimate darkness, fear, suddenly silenced by oblivion. And so, basically, here we go. And do we have a dead Kitty Pryde? Well, we'll have to check next issue. If you follow the long term, if you're a long term reader of the X-Men, you know what's up. But here we go. Next issue, what happened to Kitty? So we got a body, we got blood, and we got the gizmo from the Baxter building. So, all right, X-Men 178. Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., Bob Wycheck, and Brett Breeding. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.